Welcome to another week of Film in Focus, and welcome to this special looking at the LA1 Short Film Festival, the annual short film festival which took place at the Duke Cinema this past Saturday. It's the 4th year, and here to discuss the events of it is the Godfather himself, I guess. That just came to me. I was going to go with a different reference, but it seemed perfect. Ray Turner's back. Hello, Ray.
Hello.
You all right? How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm so. See how things go. We're going to discuss. I mean, Ray's film was in the film festival in the sort of local Lancashire section, one of 5. So we'll go through those 5. We also talked briefly about the wider section, which was open to the whole country. Why are you looking at me? Did I get something wrong?
Okay.
I thought
hearing a strange voice
already made a mistake. It could be mine. Sometimes people say it's a strange voice.
No, I'm thinking I'm hearing that is mine.
Okay, as long as it's not mine. And there was an overall winner as well of the nationwide prize. So 2 prizes handed out. So in a moment we're going to talk a bit about the Lancaster LA1 Short Film Festival. I have a couple of reviews later as well. I'll be reviewing Greta, a catch-up review. That's the latest Neil Jordan film. And also John Wick Chapter 3. I'll be discussing that. That's a new release, general release. Bit of Keanu action there. So those reviews will be coming up later on, and also we'll have some listings as well, which will probably end the show. So if you want to contact the show tonight and discuss anything film related, you can text 07399 085508 and email studio@beyondradio.co.uk. So I guess it might be quite a good thing to discuss Ray's film a little bit first. It makes sense since he's here on the spot. And it didn't quite win, although maybe a nose breath. I mean, I'm sure you can still ask for a recount. I'm sure that will still be a Florida-style recount at this stage. But yeah, if you want to set it up, talk a little bit about your film.
Okay. What do I say about it? I mean, shall I give? I mean, people probably won't know what it is. It's a kind of. Well, you should describe it. It's kind of just a very light little sort of slightly comical film about a guy waking up in the middle of the night, married, a long-term marriage. You got that, right? I'm assuming people understand the film. But this was what it's meant to be. A guy been married a long time, wakes up in the night, feeling a bit hot under the collar. And really the film is, slightly comical. He has to make a decision whether to wake his wife up and maybe get a good response or maybe get a sort of angry response. He doesn't really know. Or, deal with it himself, I suppose. I'm trying to be very coy. And that's really the comedy of the film. It's, was it funny? You saw it?
I liked it, as I've already said. It was good fun. It had some good visual gags. I like the music by Luke Benjamin.
Yeah, the music was good. I mean, that lifted it.
That really set the mood, and a nice opening with the sort of swearing camera over the bed. And,
thank you.
Yeah, there was some nice sort of visual gags, and the way the actor reacted, there was some good reactions.
Yeah, I mean,
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris and Marion, who are the 2 actors, just fantastic in it, and Luke did do a brilliant job with the music, and David with the David Chandler, who did the cinematography, did a fantastic job with the camera. So that's it really. There was one other person involved who was Will Shermadian, and I should say thank you to him too. But that was it. That was the entire cast and crew.
And how did it go down on the night?
It's hard to know, isn't it? I think people. I mean, you got laughs, whether they were genuine or not. I think they were genuine, and it got an applause at the end, but it didn't win, which is fair enough. Good film won. The film that won was very good.
I mean, I think with comedy, it's a bit like horror in a way, isn't it? I mean, I think there's a natural reaction to it, so it's very spontaneous. So, I mean, if someone laughs, I think it is generally because they find it funny. Because there's no reason to fake it in that situation.
True, I would hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly, I entered a film 2 years ago that was a comedy, and it got like one little snigger at one point.
Okay.
So people weren't faking it, sort of to be kind. I hope. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to know.
It did seem to go down well on
Thank
the
you.
night.
I mean, yeah. So so that's the setup, and hopefully, But I mean, it's kind of interesting because it's. I think people kind of were saying to me about it, that it's slightly depressing film because it's kind of this idea of people. This is what marriage is like when you've been married for 20 years or something. But actually, I kind of see it as weirdly romantic. I kind of see it as these two people still love each other and they still are together, and I suppose that that we see a lot of Hollywood films where the kind of these two people meet and they sort of have soft focus, dissolve-y kind of sex, and then they split up for some reason because one of them does something stupid, and then they work out the difference. They get back together, and then the film ends, and that's kind of seen as this kind of beautiful romance, and that's fine, and that's great, and we all enjoy that. But I kind of thought you don't actually see films about what happens 20 years later. When they've got back together, they got married, they've had a couple of kids. In fact, they may have even had grandchildren now, but they do still love each other, but it's not soft focus, dissolve-y kind of love. It's kind of have you put the bins out? Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, that's great because I didn't want to do it. And that's the sort of. I mean, there's a line which I have to be careful because it's got a sweary word in, but there's a line in The Deep Blue Sea. It was a Terence Rattigan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Play. Well, it's in the film. I assume it's also in the play. I haven't seen the play. Where in the film, Rachel Weisz is kind of trying to commit suicide because this guy doesn't love her and everything, and then she goes down to a landlady who's nursing this old man, and she says, what you're feeling isn't love. Love is when you've got this man here and you're clearing up his mess so that he can die with some dignity, and that's and I kind of think, I mean, not that that's what I'm reading a lot too much into my film, but I mean there is something in that line, that's you don't see that kind of love in movies because it's not, it's not romantic and it doesn't appeal to the 18 to 25-year-olds. But and I kind of thought, well, that's what I want to kind of. So I'd see it. People sort of say, "No, this is quite slightly not a love story. It's slightly anti-romance." But I kind of think that it's quite romantic, really, in a sort of way that sort of what being in love really is like. I think it's not soft focus and dissolves. It's putting the bins out and kind of hoovering the floor when you don't want to because you don't so the other person doesn't have to and that sort of thing.
Okay, that's interesting. Then you thought of
there you go. That's my take.
Okay, fair dues.
And I mean, and the other thing is, I mean, I suppose the other side of it is you get films like, is it 45 Years with Tom Courtenay and Charlotte Rampling?
Charlotte Rampling, yeah.
And you see that other side of people who've been married a long time, where it's like they're bored of each other and they're not functioning properly, in every sense of the word. And I kind of thought, well, that's not my reality either. That's the sort of, I mean, that's not what I'm like.
So are you a filmmaker who likes to very much stick to what's a reality to you? You don't, or like you wouldn't, or you're not a filmmaker who would totally go outside of reality anyway?
I don't know.
You're not
I don't
sure?
know. I just write stories, and if I like them enough, I make them. I guess that the film I made before, which was New Year's Resolution, which got shown at LA1. That was that was kind of based on a thing that really happened to me. I mean, it was 3 or 4 events kind of merged together. But I think a lot of those things in that film did really happen. But I think the film before that was a ghost story. So, and I don't believe in ghosts. So I mean, no,
Damn you, Ray.
But I think it was just if I write something. I mean, I just write a lot of stuff, although not so much lately. But I try and just write all the time. And so if I write something I like, then I try and make it. And I suppose that's it. I mean, I suppose it's inevitable though that you're gonna write stuff that's a little bit. I mean, the position I'm in, nobody's saying to me, you have to write this because we won't make our money back or anything. You know, I'm making these films for next to nothing, and I'm producing them myself. I don't need to make any money, so I can just, you know, I don't even need people to see them. You know, I can just make them because I enjoy them, enjoy making them, and so. Oh God, I sound so serious. I sound so kind of. It's not. I mean, you know, this film is meant to be funny. I mean, it is, you know, it's meant to be kind of slightly having a laugh at this guy's situation, and so in case you haven't, you know, or you won't have seen it, but I've lost track of what I was saying now. But
is it just because obviously if people haven't seen it, is it up online for people?
It's not. No,
not at the moment.
Not yet.
Okay.
It will be.
Yeah.
I suppose I don't know really.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to enter it for anything else.
Okay.
So I don't want to put it online until I've kind of decided.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, so yeah, I kind of write all the time, trying to. What was I saying? Yes, it's slightly inevitable that you're gonna start writing about things that you think about on a sort of daily basis. I mean, the inspiration for this actually for this film, which is called The Ballad of Dave and Sal, because I thought I'd go for a catchy name.
Yeah, we might not have said the title.
And I mean, actually, and this sounds like a fake story, but it's actually true. The inspiration for this came because I was at LA1 last year and I didn't have a film in. And there were people giving talks, and there was a guy called Aaron, can't remember his last name, Don Levy. And he gave a talk and said that, and he's an incredibly talented filmmaker. And he said that he makes all these films, they're kind of all a bit grim up north, sort of, you know, kind of Kes type films.
Yeah.
And he said that what he does is just look around and say, what have I got access to? And he just realised he had access to a bunch of kids who, you know, were a bit rough. And I try to, and he kind of thought, well, you know, I'll put them in my film. And then at the actual festival itself, all the films were, you know, what do you call them, dramas, and one of them was a comedy, and it was a comedy that, you know, Chris Foster had made, who was also a local filmmaker, and he had shot it on a phone, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
You were there, weren't you?
Yeah. So the one that won last.
Yeah, and it won. And it looked like he'd shot it in an afternoon. It had, you know, but it was like the audience were just laughing, and it was kind of lovely to be watching something and laughing after kind of 4 other films that were all quite sort of serious and some of them quite dark.
It was quite a heavy year that year.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, and then suddenly you got this very kind of slightly silly comedy. And I kind of went home that night and I was lying in bed kind of thinking about all these films and, you know, thinking about the day. And I suddenly thought, you know, I need to write a script. I haven't written anything. And it suddenly came to me. It was like this guy said, film what you've got access to. And I thought, well, what have I got access to? And I just looked around and thought, well, I'm in bed. I've got access to this bed. And then I thought, and, you know, the best thing to do is make a comedy.
See, if that was me, I would just come up with a horror about the bed eating me or
well, I mean, that's, you know, that's fine. I mean, you know, there was one of them, actually, wasn't there, this year? There was Danny Carville, who... I think he's 15, made a film. It's a slightly horror film.
Very true.
Which I thought was very good, actually. I mean, you know, I know that he'd cast his little sister as the main lead, and then his mum played the sort of the ghost figure that kind of appears, and you know this, and it's sort of it is that, isn't it? The little girl goes to bed, and then there's this kind of ghost figure comes into the room. But yeah, and so the idea of making it a comedy was sort of. I mean, I think it's my natural tendency, anyway, is to try and make things. I mean, it doesn't always work, but I try and make things funny. Yeah. But you know, there was a sort of sense of that feeling when you'd had all these really serious films, and then suddenly you had a comedy. It was great, and I just thought, yeah, I'd like to be the person that's kind of got them all laughing in the aisle, sort of thing. Plus it won. I mean, it was quite cynical. Plus I might win, you know.
So we've been discussing Ray's film, The Ballad of Dave and Sal. I mean, obviously you don't have to go in that many details, but did any other films stand out to you from, I guess, either category, if you want to?
Well, yeah. I mean, like I just mentioned Danny Carville's film, and I can't remember the title. Do you know the title?
Afraid not.
No.
Sorry.
It stood
Yeah,
out. I mean,
there was
mainly
a lot.
because it just didn't have any dialogue, which I just think is a good thing in a film, especially a short film. If you can kind of
Oh, was it Threshold? Threshold.
threshold, yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's the yeah.
So that kind of stood out. And I mean, but maybe that's kind of knowing he's 15. But
Yeah.
you know, potential.
Is that the director?
That's the director.
Is-
Yeah.
oh, okay.
He's
Oh,
young.
very good,
He was at nursery with my daughter.
Yeah. Oh, right.
So you know, so I know him. I've known him all his life, more or less. The other one that stood out for me was called Organic Reach, which was Tom Diffenthal's film,
Okay.
and I just thought that was it was nice. And again, it didn't massively rely on a lot of dialogue. It was a very simple story about a girl, a woman who wants to get followers on Twitter and Facebook and things. So she kind of sets herself up as a kind of organic sort of health guru.
Yeah.
But actually what she's doing is buying carrots from kind of Sainsbury's and then burying them and then filming herself digging them up and then buying kind of organic milkshakes and things and filming herself drinking it and then throwing it away and having a can of Coke or something. And then in the end, she gets so many followers, she's sick of her phone going off all the time. I don't know if I should tell you that, but and then so it ends with her burying her phone in the allotment plot. And I just thought it was nice.
Yeah,
It
it was very contemporary, but he found an interesting visual way to.
yeah,
And it was quite playful at times, visually.
and it was funny.
as
I mean,
well.
you know,
it was funny. Yeah,
so it was nice.
Yeah. Nice mixture of like tones in
Yeah.
a way. You know, there was.
So how about you? What stood out for you?
Well, Soil won. Obviously, Soil won the Lancashire Prize, and generally I liked it. It was a very well made film. It was a very moody, almost Western style thing, even though it wasn't clearly set in the Old West.
No, I mean, I think it was set in locally, wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously, but you know, it just had the feel of that down and dirty sort
Yeah,
of Western type thing, and
And it begins with them burying a baby.
yeah,
which
I
looked
wondered where
frighteningly
we were going when
realistic.
that opened like that.
Yeah, it was a frighteningly realistic baby.
Because actually it turned into, I mean, I guess in a way dark comedy, but it turned out there was some comedy moments after that, and I was unsure of the tone at times,
Right.
but it was interesting in a way. It wasn't quite as dark as you were expecting after that opening.
No, maybe I don't know. Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was very hard to be objective when I've got a film in the
Yes.
yeah,
that was Scott Feast directed. That's The Soil won the Lancashire
Yeah.
Prize, and yeah, it was quite direct, quite moody, atmospheric. So it was a well-made film, even if there was certain qualms maybe with the story or the tone, but it was
it was very
good
well
performances and
Yeah.
it's
Someone
quite
said
nice.
that the actor was in Coronation Street as a
Oh really? No, I
one of
didn't know
the
that.
actors. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
yeah, apparently.
There
So
you
there you
go.
go.
Very good.
So what about in the main competition? What did you like?
Maine. Again, titles are escaping me, but
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot of films.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot more than.
I quite enjoyed the noirish one, which was set in Wales. That was quite a light-hearted one.
a bit more.
The kidnap one, you know.
Oh, that's the one that
about
won, right?
No.
No.
Kaleidoscope one.
So what's the one that was set in Wales with? Oh,
Yeah.
I know the one you mean. Yes, kind of love story, kind of trying to kidnap.
Yeah, it almost had a bit of a Tarantino type vibe, but it was basically a young waiter. He worked in a cafe and sees quite a glamorous looking girl who's undecided whether to break up with her husband or not, but he basically treats her badly, and they hatch a plan. So there's almost a caper sort of element to it. So it was very light-hearted, but there was some quite tense moments in it as well, and that was quite well done. I enjoyed that. That was a good watch.
So is that the one you'd have picked? That's your standard.
Possibly, or maybe the one you mentioned, because that was. Yeah, from a filmmaking standpoint. So, I think you were a bit indifferent to the one that actually won, Kaleidoscope.
It isn't the one I'd have picked. It was very good though, and had a young kid in it. Sorry, that's why, because you said kidnapping, but and I thought that's what you were talking about. Yeah, I had a young kid in it who was very good. He was a very good actor. So,
yeah, he was. Quite natural. Yeah. So basically, it's sort of a boy and his parents, and it does a swerve on you because, like, the mother at the beginning is very unsympathetic, and you get the impression she's a bit of a high flyer and just cares about her work and maybe unengaged at home, and the dad's all playful and a bit of a clown, and you just think, he's going to be the sympathetic character because seems to care more about the child's relationship, but then they twist it around and he actually becomes a lot more sinister at the end, which I thought was quite nicely done.
Yeah, it was.
But it was a bit up and down in quality, that section. Because I know you said about the film.
What film?
The one where she worked as a guidance for foreign for refugees.
Yeah, I mean, that was. I mean, I think it was a nice story, but
the message, but
yeah, I mean, oh God, I feel bad. I kind of, I didn't. It wasn't that visual. It was very much.
Yeah, the film.
It was very much, kind of watching a person talk on the phone and talk and kind of you're only watching one character talk, and I kind of think that there must be more visual ways to tell stories, but I feel bad. Kind of.
Okay, well, you've said it now, so you haven't trounced it.
Someone's hit
you
this
haven't
now.
trounced it, no. No, so I mean, basically the local films: Ballad of Dave and Sal, Soil, which won. We had Threshold, White Rabbit. I think me and Ray agreed that was the weakest one. Yeah, not very good. Quite soapy, quite melodramatic. The lead actor wasn't very good in that. I thought the other actors were fine, but that had a very Apocalypse Now. What are you doing? And then there was a documentary. Explain what the documentary was about.
Was it called The Last Pit Lass or something?
That's right, Last Pit Brown Lass, I believe.
Right, and it was about a woman who worked in the pits, and she had to clear up. What was it she had to do? She had to do something when the miners came out of the. All the women did, not just her.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what it is she had to do.
Me neither.
Okay.
Sorry.
The trouble is, we get one shot seeing these films, and if you can't, and there was a lot of them. There was a lot of films, and we can't go back and watch them again to kind of remind ourselves what it's not like they're on DVD.
That's it,
online.
Yeah.
So she had a job, and it was. I thought that was quite nice. I thought it was quite nicely done. My feeling is that it felt like a longer film, and it just needed. I needed more information about her. They seem to be kind of drawing a kind of comparison between how. When times were hard and everything, but actually there was this sense of community, and they were kind of very, very tight, and they actually had a good time. Even though it was hard work and dangerous work as well. Actually, it was like they all kind of looked after each other, and that has gone, and that's what I got from it. That kind of message, and of course, having grown up as a teenager during the miners' strike and stuff, I mean, I kind of instantly read that as like, well, of course, the mines all closed down and it destroyed these communities and things like that. And I mean, so I was kind of going, that there seems to be a story there. There seems to be something there that some sort of link you could make there. And maybe that's what they're kind of intending, It sort of felt to me like there's a longer film in there. The director, whoever, did that, could actually take that material and go off and kind of find some other stuff and actually make that into like a 20-minute film rather than a sort of 5-minute kind of. It's more like an oral history, really, wasn't it? What we're seeing, which was, which was
it was a worthy
nice
message, quite basic, but from a filmmaking standpoint, quite a safe, but certainly a worthy message. But maybe, like you said, could have been expanded on a little bit.
Yeah, so. They couldn't in that context, but. They still could, if you know what I mean. They could take that stuff and actually make that into a longer film. And I'd be interested in seeing it if he did.
Okay.
Or she. I don't know who made it. Sorry.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Just to remind you, if you want to get in touch, the text is 07399085508 or email studio@beyondradio.co.uk. So I have a couple new releases to discuss this week. The first one is Greta, which is the new Neil Jordan film, pretty decent background. And this stars Isabelle Huppert, everyone's favourite French actress, certainly modern French actress.
Certainly mine.
Amazing actress. And also Chloe Grace Moretz, who we like a lot as well. So this... I think this is a throwback sort of thriller, really, and I think that's partly why it's sadly gone under the radar a bit. So it's a Fatal Attraction style thriller, pretty basic setup. The Chloe Grace Moretz character lives in New York with a best friend, and she finds a woman's purse on the underground or the subway train, and quite a fancy purse, but she sort of returns it. There's the address and what have you, and she builds up a friendship with the woman played by Isabelle Huppert, and in the classic sort of mould of those sort of straight to video sort of thrillers, it sort of takes a sinister turn where the Isabelle Huppert, I'm not really giving this away because I think this is pretty quite obvious by the setup, but she becomes sort of obsessed and forms an unhealthy attachment to her, and things spiral from there, really. So I think, as I said, it's been overlooked partly because, in a way, this style thriller has gone out of fashion. It is a very cinematic thriller. I think it has that in its favour. I think it really captures New York very well and the energy of the city. And it's one of these where it feels like quite an authentic New York-style movie. And as I said, it is very cinematic, lots of nice visuals. And obviously, I think what lifts it as well are the two performances. I mean, Isabelle Huppert, I mean, if you want to cast a psychopath, then you basically cast her. I mean, because she's amazing, because what she does is she plays both sides. And even though you sort of know what direction the character's taking, you sort of she convinces at both sides. I mean, that she does seduce you, the nice innocent little lady who's picking up a rescue animal and that sort of thing, and she plays both extremes so well. And there's scenes where she just throws herself into the scene, but she does build up the performance in a very effective way. Chloe Grace Moretz really grounds her character very well, and they have really good energy, really good chemistry between them. I mean, it's interesting because things do develop quite quickly, so it's quite early in the film, and I was kind of thinking, well, where are they going to go from here? And they actually do go in some interesting areas. I mean, they sort of twist things around, and it plays with the audience emotions because it keeps you guessing, and without going into detail, because this is late in the film and really spoiler territory, it does this thing like near the end where it basically makes you think the film's ending, and it at that stage you're thinking, oh, okay, this is sort of quite unexpected, and then there's another act essentially, so it pulls the rug out, and it does again, I can't talk too much about it, but it does this thing where it almost presents these different endings, these possible endings almost, where I mean, I was a bit unclear of how it plays out exactly, but there was this idea that it might have been in the character's head. But yeah, so it does put some quite subversive sort of twists on that. And I mean, I think this sort of film, when it's done with this much style and this much, just so much energy, and obviously quite a bonkers type film, which you enjoy for those elements, and obviously strong performances, I think this is kind of my jam, you know. And it was suspenseful as well. That's the thing. Towards the end, it is really suspenseful. There's some very claustrophobic sort of scenes as well, which one inside a box where the camera literally goes inside the box, and that's, if you're claustrophobic, that's a bit Scary. So I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I think it has gone under the radar, sadly. I think it's a little better than I mean, it hasn't been getting bad reviews. It's been getting solid reviews. But, yeah, I think it's, been quite underlooked. I mean, part of it might be a personal thing because I do enjoy, when they're done well, this sort of film. So
Neil Jordan, I mean,
Neil Jordan.
he does very good. He's good at thrillers, isn't he? Sort of things like Angel and The Crying Game and things like that.
Yeah, Crying Game, very good. And he's done a lot of different sorts of films, hasn't he?
Well,
but
what was it called? Company of Wolves.
Yeah.
Which wasn't so great. And so now we're trying to think of Neil Jordan.
Yeah, Breakfast on Pluto's. I love that film.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
That's a brilliant film. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he does have his duds, but overall he's had a pretty consistent career and he's done a bit of everything in a way, which I think is good. And he tends to be a good actor's director as well.
Yeah.
Do we have a new message?
Oh, messages.
Hello. I was at the film festival and I couldn't understand the plot of Soil because I couldn't understand what the actors were saying. Could you explain? No name on that, but thank you for getting in touch. We said the sound was a bit off.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was the fault of the film.
No.
I think it just, I don't know. It had a lot of dialogue in the middle. And, a lot of it was hard to understand. So, I mean, no, I'm afraid I can't.
Yeah, I think we had the same problem, sadly. So sorry about that. But thank you for getting in touch. So I'll do one more review, which is John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, I believe you direct that. So it's directed by Chad Stahelski, whose interesting background because he was actually the stunt double for Brendan Lee when he was working on The Crow and tragically died. So he actually filled in for Lee after his untimely death. And also, he was Keanu Reeves' stunt double in The Matrix. So that's maybe how they got back in touch. And so third part of this series of films, so Keanu Reeves plays the assassin or the former assassin at the start of this film. And basically a bounty has been placed on his head, so legions of assassins from the underworld are targeting him. That's kind of how the film opens. And so he has turned his back on the assassin world, which is essentially why this bounty has been put on him. And the whole thing kind of goes into the whole mythology of the character and the background a bit more in this whole thing about choosing a new life, so it goes into those areas. So I've not seen the previous two John Wicks, but this one I enjoyed a lot. I enjoyed it for the physical, cinematic experience it was, because I think what you have to really give Keanu Reeves is the way he physically pushes himself for these roles, a bit like he did with The Matrix, because he does a lot of his own stunts. And he's so committed to these roles. And I think, as someone else was saying, you can knock him all you want for maybe not being the best actor in the world. But I think as a physical actor, he sort of ticks all the boxes and he looks the part, sort of brooding, stalking through the rain in this. It's very cinematic, as I said. Mm-hmm. And he's very effective. This is his sort of role, this Zen.
Yeah, I think if he gets the right role, he's good at it. I think probably a mistake to cast him in Dracula as an English gentleman of the sort of Victorian, and presumably, I don't know, I didn't see it, but he did some Shakespeare with Kenneth Branagh, didn't he?
Yeah,
I don't know what that
seems
was
a very strange choice for that.
But if you actually cast him as an American action hero, he's pretty good actually. Things like Speed and Matrix, he was good.
Yeah, Point Break, which is a favourite of mine, and Matrix. But I think it should be recognised. This is an art in itself. It's a bit like the silent era. The fact that these fight scenes are incredible. I mean, there's a scene in the library where he batter someone to death with a book, which is extraordinary. Really? But it's just going back to basics. There's no CGI. It's just really artfully put together fight scenes. They have a rhythm to them, like classic dance scenes from the golden age of. So there is a real art to this, and they look really convincing. They're really full on, and they really draw you in. And he's very impressive in them. There's an impressive supporting cast. Ian McShane's in there. There's some fun hammy acting from Angelica Houston, and also from Lawrence Fishburne, his old Matrix sparring. He's in there doing some fun. I mean, there's a bit in the middle where the film slows down and the plot becomes a bit plodding, and there's a little too much of them explaining the plot. I think those are the weaker elements. I'd probably say beginning's good, middle's not so great, and then it really gets going again at the end. So a pretty satisfying cinematic blockbuster. I had a good time. So yeah, it's on general release now. John Wick Chapter 3. It was really, really good, and we'll probably no, it's fine. We'll end with that track. So yeah, general release. But I'll go for Greta for my film of the week.
Wish I'd seen it.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll come back around. Who knows? But
Yeah, well,
I'm sure you'll see it at some point.
I'm sure I'll see it.
Yeah, it's worth seeing, in my opinion.
Okay, go.
So yeah. Did you pick a TV movie of the week?
I
Yes,
did.
you did.
I did, because you asked me to. And so I had to trawl the Radio Times or whatever it was. And I wish I was less predictable, but it is Goodfellas on Sunday on ITV4 at 11:20. And I mean, I think anyone who's seen it knows why I've picked this. It's just such a visceral roller coaster, brilliant bit of movie making. It's such bravado movie making. Is that what I mean? It's just incredibly. It kind of starts and you sort of stop breathing about 30 seconds in, and then 2.5 hours later you kind of, oh wow, is that it's and it's obviously it's kind of quite, the characters in the film are quite cocaine fueled, and it feels a bit like you're on cocaine, I think, watching it. It's just got some amazing set pieces as well. Joe Pesci, I think, steals the film, and the really famous scene in it is him, in a restaurant, and just an amazing film. I do wish I could have picked some, kind of slow burning kind of Russian art movie, but no, Goodfellas is the one.
Good chance to see it if you've never seen it.
If you've never seen it, actually, if you've never seen it, don't watch it with adverts. Just go and get the DVD.
Well, very true.
And watch it properly, and because it's worth it. But that is my pick of the week.
Great.
Sunday, ITV4 at 11:20 in the evening.
So yeah, it's quite a good week. I mean, just a few knocked off because I might pick these other weeks, but Close Calls Lakeview Terrace is on this weekend, which is quite an underrated Neil LaBute thriller. Has racial implications. Very good Samuel L. Jackson performance. That's worth seeing. That's on.
He's also in Goodfellas.
On Friday. So
Samuel L. Jackson's also in Goodfellas.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten.
Small
about
part.
That.
Yeah.
Romancing the Stones on Arrival, very good science fiction film recently. Another Wolf Cop for those fans of Wolf Cop, which is a blast.
I don't know.
Classic B movie. Fun. Phantasm, the very underrated horror movie from the late 70s, is also on. But I've done it on a theme. I've gone with another Keanu film, but since he's back in cinemas, I've gone for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, fantastic.
From 1989, the film that made him a star and briefly made Alex Winter a star.
And they're doing another one,
They're
aren't they?
returning, which I'm up for. That's very exciting. What they come up with, because it's kind of a coming-of-age type thing, so it'll be interesting to see them now in middle age sort of thing. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Good goofy fun. Quite an interesting concept, them travelling back in time to get these historical figures to help them with a school
homework
project.
assignment.
They have to pass. I'm sure it doesn't quite work like that, but it's an interesting idea. A lot of good cheesy fun, charming film. There's a real charm to that. So yeah, if you want to see Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, it is on Saturday the 25th. At 3:05 in the afternoon, and that's on 5 Star, the channel they call 5 Star. So there you have it. That's my pick for TV movie of the week, and a couple of films at the Dukes. I'll mention Women at War this week. So this is the new film from the director of Horses and Men, 2013. It's about a cello conductor, Hannah, who seems to lead a quiet and routine existence, but her happy and upbeat life hides a secret double life, wherein she also operates as a committed environmental activist. And it's sort of described as a mix of absurdist sort of comedy, mixed with a tense thriller. So could be promising. And if you want to give it a look, Woman at War is on Friday, tomorrow at 6:20, then Saturday 8:30, Wednesday the 29th at 6. Two screenings on Thursday the 30th, 11 a.m. in the morning, and then 8:30. So there you have it, Woman at War on this week. And one more pick, which is a family screening, the Lego Movie 2, which is a U, so and anyone can see that one. So one of the Duke's family screenings, which is only $2.50 to get into. So that's on Thursday the 30th at 1:30. Tickets just £2.50 if you've not seen the Lego Movie. So thank you very much for listening to this. And thank you for Ray. Ray will be back in a few weeks. We'll be doing our special 100th episode, top 10 each of ours for the 21st century.